We'll start with this. Tomorrow night on the undercard of Troy Williamson versus Josh Kelly across the pond in the United Kingdom. I believe it's on terrestrial television. I believe it's on Channel 5. Wasserman, in association with Probellum, will be staging a card, and we will be seeing the ring return of Norwegian-born, Spain-based Katarina Thanders, former world title challenger, who's boxed at least once since having been stopped by Terry Harpier in 2020. She's going to be taking on career journeywoman Adina Kiss. Needless to say, I like Katarina Thanders to win the fight. If this is anything, this is a keep busy fight, keep the machine well oiled, in between kind of fight. BoxRec has this billed as a super featherweight contest. Super featherweight, that's 130 pounds. That's where Alicia Baumgartner reigns as that division's unified champion, Hyun-Mi Choi. She's got the WBA, and as stated, I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know that this actually is a super featherweight contest or a lightweight contest, as I vaguely recall Katarina Thanders stating that she'd be moving up in weight after the Terry Harper fight, the Terry Harper loss. Katarina's last fight, May of this year, was fought well above super featherweight. I think she weighed in at about 138 pounds. 138, that's well above super featherweight, well above lightweight as well, the lightweight limit of 135 pounds. So while BoxRec may have the Adina Kiss fight registered as a super featherweight contest, I don't know how accurate that is. Katarina Thanders, who's fought one or two very good fighters, gave Rachel Ball her first professional loss, took on Brazil's own Danila Ramos, another capable fighter. She seems to have maintained a good working relationship with the Sarlin brothers. The Sarlin brothers have promoted her fights in the past. They still appear to be promoting her fights, as well as Sophia Leash. Christina Hammer, too, former middleweight champion Christina Hammer. Where it is Katarina Thanders is going to be campaigning moving forward is relevant to the conversation, because we need to know what she's angling for. If she is up there at lightweight or super lightweight, one can only deduce that she's on a second world title run, and she means to get one of those champions in the ring, whether it's Katie Taylor at 135 or Chantel Cameron at 140. Here and now, both Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor, irrespective of where it is Katarina Thanders is campaigning, they're in the running for different fights with different fighters. Feels like Katarina may be a ways out from a title shot at either 135 or 140 pounds. The most that she can do is keep busy. I believe this will be her second fight this year, a more productive year for her than the previous one was. She sat out all of last year, but, you know, tomorrow night, she shares the ring with Adina Kiss. That will be her second fight of this year. She should at minimum be able to beat Adina Kiss, make it past her and win a points decision, and who she'll take aim at in the following year, well, your guess is as good as mine. She still has a very respectable record, 14 wins with just one loss, no draws with 2 knockouts. She's still a very capable and serviceable fighter, one of the who's who fighters and one of the more solid fighters anywhere at or around these weights. She'll be in action tomorrow night on the undercard of Williamson versus Kelly. Keep your eyes peeled for that. In men's featherweight news, rumors abound. Word around the campfire seems to be we may be looking at a Lee Wood versus Kiko Martinez showdown. Lee Wood, who was very recently ordered to take on reigning WBA champion Leo Santa Cruz. And I told you, I just don't see that fight materializing. Perhaps not at the price that the PBC would set for it, and certainly not if it were to end up going to a purse bid. The way this breaks down, Leo isn't going to cross the street over to Matchroom in his own, so let's get that right out of the way. And the PBC's offer to Lee Wood, it may pale in comparison. It may, in fact, pale in comparison to what he normally makes in his neck of the woods. Thus, if they fail to reach a deal, and it ends up going to a purse bid, the proposed split by way of the WBA is a 75-25 split in favor of Leo. Fiscally, it makes absolutely no sense for Lee Wood. He could make more money than that,
boxing Kiko Martinez or someone else as part of a Matchroom show than going over there to the PBC.
Is this a duck?
To the layman, it might be. To the layman, they may look at this and say, you know what?
What?
You were supposed to fight Leo, and you didn't, and it's as simple as that. But it's a gross oversight in the greater scheme of things. It is, because what I think is holding up this fight and has been holding up this fight...
I don't think for a second Lee Wood is afraid of Leo Santa Cruz.
Remember that it was the Leo Santa Cruz people that proposed that Lee Wood stand down so that they could unify titles with WBC featherweight champion, newly crowned Ray Vargas. You know, they failed to get their ducks in order. They failed to file their paperwork in a timely fashion, and as a result of that, the WBA ended up reordering this fight between Lee Wood and Leo Santa Cruz.
But essentially what I'm getting at is that it was the Santa Cruz people that wanted Lee Wood to stand down.
And he was willing to, but, you know, things didn't materialize between Leo and Ray. The WBA ended up reordering this fight that I don't expect to see materialize because, as stated, I don't think the PBC is offering Lee Wood the kind of money he can make as part of a Matchroom show. And if the fight were to go to a purse bid as a result of them not reaching a deal, he's only entitled to 25% of the pot. Peanuts compared to what he could make on a Matchroom show. So here we are. He may end up boxing Kiko Martinez. Stylistically, it makes for a very entertaining fight because Kiko Martinez, veteran that he might be,
he knocked out Kid Galahad last year, got knocked out by Josh Warrington,
turns around and knocks out Jordan Gill in 4 rounds this year.
He's still a serviceable fighter. He's still capable. He's still dangerous. He's still got power. You know what they say? Power. Power's the last thing to go.
The fight's aesthetic makes for an all-action fight between punchers. Lee Wood is a strong puncher, and so is Kiko Martinez, though I'm a bit surprised that Lee Wood is not more receptive to a Mick Conlan rematch. Mick Conlan, who he knocked out earlier this year in a Fight of the Year candidate. You know that Mick Conlan has actually boxed at least once.
Since having been knocked out by Lee Wood in March, not only has Mick Conlan returned to action this year against Miguel Mariaga, he's set to return to action again a couple of days.
Got a fight in Belfast on the 10th, and that's basically saying that since their epic fight, their fight with each other, Mick Conlan has already seen, or will have already seen, action 2 times before this year is out, but Lee Wood...
3 times. The Wood fight in March, his return to action against Mariaga, and the fight he's got coming up in Belfast. Mick Conlan will have fought 3 times this year, but Lee will have only fought once.
Just once. That is as a result of the sordid situation, the sordid affair between him, Leo, and the WBA. That's what's been keeping Lee Wood out of action, you know. That entire thing.
That fiasco.
Now, as rumor has it, he may end up fighting Kiko Martinez. I like the fight in terms of the aesthetic and entertainment value. I think it promises to be an entertaining fight, and put simply, I think somebody's going to get knocked out.
So I like the fight, but that's not saying that Lee Wood may not be on the receiving end of some criticism for potentially walking away from Leo Santa Cruz.
Leo Santa Cruz, who actually beat Kiko Martinez 6 years ago in 2016. He may end up getting criticized for this fight.
He might, yeah. Even if it does turn out to be a barn burner.
Even if after all these years, Kiko Martinez is still a capable and serviceable and in many ways dangerous fighter.
There are going to be critics, but hey, there are always critics, right?
Right.
You know, then that... Is that just for this fight, or is it for a series of fights? Like Adrian Broner said, he has a series of fights, he says, for 10 to 12 million.
No, it's just a one-fight deal. It's a one-fight deal.
How do you know, then, that this platform is financially solvent if they're going to pay you and Broner that kind of money?
Well, me personally, I don't know what Broner's deal and structure is like, but I already got half of my money already, and I'm going to get the other half before I ever step in the ring, like a week before. So.
But I do know certain things. I do know certain things that I can confirm, that the money paid to Avanesian has all been paid.
Could you tell us?
And it's not chump change. I don't want to go into it because it's none of my business, but I know from Frank Warren that every nickel in that contract is in the bank. So that leads me to believe that that fight will happen, because nobody or nobody in their right mind puts up that kind of money and then pisses it away with no fight. I mean, so I really believe that that's a sign that that fight is going to happen. And I hear Crawford, which I don't know, has gotten a big percentage of this purse that's been promised him.
There's been widespread speculation as to whether or not Terence Crawford would receive the reported $10 million purse for the Avanesian fight that he says he's supposed to get. Terence Crawford himself says in so many words he's already received half the purse and he's set to receive the other half ahead of the match. Bob Arum via Frank Warren, who promotes David Avanesian.
The other half of this fight.
He's supposed to be making a nice wad of cash as well. Bob Arum claims that he has it on good authority by way of Frank Warren, his old buddy, who promotes David. The money's there. The money's in the bank.
I.e., the money is in escrow.
Not that many of Terence Crawford's biggest critics will know or understand what that means. I'd wager they don't know what an escrow account is. Better still, there's widespread speculation, moreover, widespread criticism.
There's people, they refuse to believe that Terence Crawford found a way to make money without Al Haymon.
Put simply, because it makes Al Haymon look bad, look inept, impotent, that he could not secure the Spence versus Crawford fight, and that he didn't even offer Crawford a guarantee.
So that Terence Crawford could turn right around, take his business elsewhere, and bump face first into a $10 million guarantee. Why couldn't Al Haymon guarantee Terence Crawford $10 million? If a fledgling platform like Black Prime...
If they've got that kind of scratch for a Terence Crawford, why don't Al Haymon?
Well, maybe it's because Al Haymon's not the wizard he's made out to be. Did you ever think of that?
Most of the praise Al Haymon receives has everything to do with the success he had alongside Floyd Mayweather. But needless to say, every fighter ain't Floyd Mayweather. Every fighter ain't the box office draw that Floyd Mayweather was. And put simply, since Floyd retired, Haymon hasn't been shelling out an assembly line of Mayweathers, has he?
No, he hasn't.
None of the fighters under Haymon's PBC have gone on to become big box office draws like Floyd was. None of them have gone on to become big box office draws like Canelo.
There are people out there who would rather believe that Terence is lying about his guaranteed purse than accept that Haymon fumbled the fight. Fumbled yet another fight in a series of fights that he fumbled. Fights that he blocked.
But Al Haymon isn't all he's made out to be, even though the proof is in the pudding. You use Matchroom, for example. Eddie Hearn has managed to secure more Matchroom fighters, the Canelo Alvarez sweepstakes, than Haymon has for his guys comparatively. Anyone from Daniel Jacobs to Rocky Fielding to Callum Smith to Billy Joe Saunders to Gennady Golovkin to some degree, more recently, Dimitri Bivol.
And don't forget John Ryder. He's next.
Eddie has comparatively gotten more of his guys a Canelo fight than Haymon has, and perhaps it's because Al Haymon isn't the wizard that he's made out to be. Case in point, Terence Crawford bumps into a $10 million guarantee.
You know, he's talking to Al Haymon about a Spence fight for weeks, for months. Haymon don't guarantee him nothing, just the upside of a pay-per-view, which is tantamount to an empty promise.
How long have I been saying it here on the channel that Al Haymon isn't what people think he is?
And how long have I been saying that the PBC are not and were never committed to doing a Crawford versus Spence fight?
Black Prime, which is a fledgling platform, can come up with $10 million to pay this guy, but all Al Haymon can offer him is an empty promise?
You smokes can't see the forest for the trees. That's your problem.
By all accounts, according to Terence Crawford himself, not only is the money real, but half of it has already been paid.
Which makes Al Haymon look pretty fucking useless.
There's people. They resent Terence Crawford for not allowing himself to be controlled by Al Haymon for all the same reasons they hate Canelo Alvarez.
They are not Al Haymon's subjugates.
They're not his employees. One of Haymon's guys, Jermel Charlo, reigning undisputed junior middleweight champion, had some choice words for Terence, saying, "Clout chasing is the new promotion. I guess you should have listened to Bob, motherfucker. Knew what he was saying. You had a chance to make history for your family. You let the boxing world down. Don't call my name unless you really want to fight. It's different at 154. Why do you keep pissing off the boxing world with your stupidity? How long do you think that window's going to stay open? Bud and Boo Boo have a lot in common."
You know, because Terence wants a fight with Jermel after he's done with Errol, if he actually ever gets Errol in the ring.
That's more or less what Jermel is responding to, the desire from Terence to move up in weight at some point and take him on, though the idea that Terence Crawford is clout chasing a less popular fighter than he is in Jermell Charlo?
I mean, that's what clout is. Clout is influence. Clout is popularity.
So Jermell Charlo thinks he's more popular than Terence Crawford.
Where?
Terence Crawford, who responded by saying, "How can I be clout chasing anyone when by the time you won your first title, I had already unified a division and was a 2-time world champion and fighter of the year, and you started pro before me. Twin Charlo, looks like you're the one who's been doing all the clout chasing to me."
Irrespective of career accomplishments and accolades, because Jermell does have some catching up to do when it comes to Terence. Terence is a 3-division, 2-time lineal, 2-time Ring Magazine, former undisputed champion, whereas Jermell, he's just undisputed.
It's not bad, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's Jermell that has some catching up to do with Terence, not the other way around. Better still, career accolades and accomplishments, that's not necessarily the subject at hand. The subject at hand is clout.
And what is clout? Clout is influence. Clout is more or less popularity, and Jermell is no more popular than Terence is. If anything, Terence is a little bit more popular than Jermell.
At least a little. I often dub these pound-for-pound lists by way of popular periodicals, which are essentially tabulated by a panel of votes. I often dub them as being popularity contests, not accurate assessments of skill that are even and true across the board. Most pound-for-pound lists out there are just popularity contests, and you'll notice that Terence is ranked.
Terence Crawford always gets more votes than Jermell.
Always. That's always been the case. Hell, Jermell Charlo was only recently integrated into some pound-for-pound lists. So if he's got to chase you for clout, why are more people voting for him?
That's how ESPN does it. That's how Ring Magazine does it. They do it by way of a panel of votes.
TBRB does it the same way. If he had to chase you for clout, well, you'd be getting more votes than him, but you're not.
Everybody these days claims to have haters. Everybody claims that somebody's clout chasing them.
Everything about Terence Crawford's career so far seems to indicate that what he wants is a fight. And that's why he's looking at you in particular. If someone else were the junior middleweight division's undisputed champion, then he'd be looking at them and not at you. This is the hurt business after all, and you're the one he wants to hurt. That's all it is.
This isn't about clout. Clout doesn't even come into it. Not that you have enough clout that he should have to chase you for it.
You're about as well known as he is. If anything, you're less known than he is.
Neither one of you is Julio Iglesias. Neither one of you is all that popular, but he is a little bit more well known than you are.
Certainly more well paid. I mean, he made very good money over there at Top Rank. He's set to make even more money as part of this David Avanesian show by way of Black Prime. $10 million. Has Jermell Charlo ever made $10 million for a single fight? A single contest?